Hellions, Marauders, and Marines, and that could do massive damage right now, um, especially with only queens out for his opponent. Um, I feel
I
like
mean,
Scary can position his
the tough
overlords a
part
little
for
better.
Scary right now is that at this timing, you'd really, if you're the Zerg player, you really want to think about taking your third. But how do you do that on this map? I mean, you have this third base that's located closer to your Terran opponent, and you've got this third base that's located up here at the top of the map. Either one of those positions is not necessarily a position you really want to try and expand to early. So Scary is really just macroing up and teching up hard on two base, which is not something a lot of Zerg players are really all that comfortable with, especially in Terran versus Zerg. Which, I mean, it lends itself a lot back to like a lot of the different reasons why Zergs just don't like to play on this map. And I mean, Scary is making the best of the situation. You obviously can't veto maps in the ISTL, so he is just trying to play it out as best as he can. But here we go with Bobson. He is moving out with some Marines and some Marauders and a couple of different medevacs. This is just going to probably be a poke, potentially clean up some Kree tumors over here at the bottom of the natural expansion for our Zerg player. And these Marines and Marauders are moving up to the top of the ramp. They are focused firing down some Banelings. These queens are getting taken down as well. This poke by Bobson is doing a lot of damage. Here comes another Baneling. It's actually going to connect on a lot of Marines, but this has already done quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, and this is a push that we've seen a lot from MKP recently. It's just a few Hellions, a few Marauders, and then the two medevacs with the Marines. And they do so well, especially in positions like this, where the Marauders just take so much damage to kill with the medevacs healing. And I think this is actually doing too much damage right now. Bobson's getting so far ahead over his opponent right now, and still
Oh my god,
that
those
army's still
Marauders.
alive. And yeah, this is doing way too much damage to Scary. I don't think Scary is prepared for this at all.
This is already you already put it in the best words. This has already done too much damage. Uh, Bobson is up to 79 supply to the 44 supply of Scary. Scary's drone count has been reduced to 33 versus the 52 drones of his opponent. +1 and combat shields are already on the way, and behind this, Bobson is totally rock solid in his defenses. He's got 2 engineering bays up. He can definitely play towards the late game from here. He doesn't even have to press his advantage. He's ahead. He can just get more ahead from here.
Yeah, that was a beautiful timing. He knew that his opponent is going to be teching up. If Scary just had one round of Lings out, I felt like he would have held that. But he didn't. He just droned up. He wanted to tech fast. He's like, I need to get to a certain tech so I can withstand like the big timing push that would normally come around, 11 minutes or whatever it was. And Bobson just hit that awkward time that just punished Scary beyond belief.
Yeah, I mean you're totally right. I mean the 11-minute timing I think is what Scary was prepping himself for, and that timing kind of came in like around 9, which is just before like his military production really started to kick in, and now his economy is just so battered. I don't think he can actually withstand repeated skirmishes like this in his natural expansion. The upgrades for those infantry units are already too good. Even if he manages to push out these units, I mean he's still already lost so much money in terms of having to produce Zerglings, losing drones, losing queens. All of that's going to start adding up, and behind this, Bobson's economy is totally unhindered, and he's just going to continue pushing at his opponent, and eventually I think Scary is going to be really, really hurting from all of this.
Yeah, and Bobson, continuing to macro up, putting down a lot more barracks, realizing that he can just go straight Marines right now, or straight bio, doesn't have to worry about any Mutalisks harass, because he's already done so much economical damage. Even has a third CC about to complete. So far ahead right now. And Scary has these Lings roaming the map, but they really don't have anywhere to go. And he's making a bunch of Banelings right now. Definitely looks like he's going to go for some sort of last push here, producing nothing but Lings and Banelings right now.
Ajax, I was about to say there's no way for this to work, but if Bobson goes down that ramp, and all of these Banelings actually connect, it could be a crucial blow. Those siege tanks are not siege, and if these siege tanks were siege, there'd be no way these Banelings can do anything. But here comes the Banelings. There's a pretty good split from Boston, but these Banelings are right on top of all of the Marines, but they don't actually connect on all of them. And that attack still did some damage. Here comes some more Banelings. These Banelings are rolling it away. A little bit of hesitation by Scary. He could have actually done more damage with that attack, but that attack did a lot more damage than it realistically should have. If Boston had actually kept those siege tanks in siege mode, there would have been no way for Scary to actually do any sort of damage with that attack. But as it is, a lot of SCVs and a lot of Marines were killed in all of that. So that the worker count, well, actually, I was going to say that it evened up a little bit. It really hasn't. Bobson's still up to 60 SCVs versus the 36 SCVs of his opponent. But nonetheless, that was still like, if you're gonna go down, you're at least gonna go down with a fight. So that's kind of scary at this point.
And one thing that shows you how good of a player Bobson is, he's never stopped SCV production. He lost maybe, I don't know how many, he lost 17 workers, I think.
Yeah, 17 SCVs total.
17 workers he lost there, and he's still at 66 supply. He has not stopped making workers, and you know that's indicative of a good player. And here comes the second wave of banelings, only enough banelings to break down the supply depot. Scary realizes that there's no way that he's going to be able to do any damage with that. Just backs off, and meanwhile there's a drop.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back in the main base, there are 16 Marines actually being loaded down into the main base of Scary. These Marines are getting Overlord kills, these Marines are getting some drone kills, and they are positioned perfectly at the top of the ramp, which makes them as cost efficient as they can be against these Zerglings. And now Scary is down to 46 supply, and Bobson still manages to get half of those Marines out. This follow-up attack, when it eventually hits, I just don't think there's any way Scary can hold it. He's at 46 supply. He can't make any more because he's supply blocked from losing Overlords to that attack. These Marines are at 2-1 upgrades, and a third base is now being established for Bobson. Bobson is just taking every advantage this map can give him, and he's just taking it to the absolute maximum.
Yeah, Bobson, you can definitely feel his confidence on this map. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's feeling it right now. You can just tell he's feeling it. Just continuing to drop, going to get the Baneling Nest. And I feel like Scary's beginning to feel like this is hopeless. He's trying to take that third. He just doesn't have any money right now. He just doesn't have enough to deal with what Bobson's doing. And that it all goes back to that initial attack, that 5 Hellions and those few Marauders and few Marines.
But you know what? Scary's not tapping out. He's not giving up. He's continuing to fight. And, a lot of the times, and especially in the individual league, there'd be no reason for him to do this. He knows that he's almost impossibly far behind. And really, the only thing he would be doing is just kind of wasting his own time. But in the team league, it's different. Because the longer he makes Bobson play, the more he's testing Bobson's stamina. And Bobson's obviously frustrated knowing I already kind of beat you at this point. Why don't you just leave the game? But this is the team league, guys, and you fight for as long as you can. You want to wear out your opponent, make him weaker mentally for the next match. And I think at this point, that's what Scary's trying to do. I mean, the deficit for him is so incredibly huge. He's behind in supply by over 100 supply at this point. I don't think he's playing for this game. I think he's just trying to help his team out by trying to wear Bobson down. And, that's respectable in a team league.
Absolutely, and I think I agree with you on that. I think that's exactly what he's trying to do. He definitely wants to give a good show to you guys. We all can appreciate good showmanship, and the fact that he wants his team to win so bad. That's what this is all about, guys. Is having pride in what you're doing, and you can tell that Scary is having. That's his pride showing right now, guys. This is
definitely driven by team pride. There's the GG from Optik Scary. A tough game for him, but an opportunity for Team Property to come back in this series, which is now tied up 2-2 after a pretty convincing win by Bobson. But Scary just showing that determination and just showing that competitive spirit that he wasn't going to quit even though he was far behind. I can respect that. I could definitely respect that. Some of my favorite players are that way. Polt is that way. Marine King is that way. I love that never say die attitude from Optik Scary. Even though he lost that game, it was definitely a moral victory for, at least for me, watching him play that and just not giving in. I mean, I feel the frustration, man. I play random. I know how frustrating that map is to play for Zerg and Zerg versus Terran. I feel it, but you just didn't let it get to you. You stuck with it and you kept playing and you put on a good show. So thank you, Optik Scary. You are done for today, but your team still has the opportunity to win this series. It is tied up. And I think we're going to be seeing nothing but Terrans coming out of Team Property. So Team Optik has to know that at this point. So they have the opportunity to kind of to work around that. They have plenty of Protosses and Terrans still available that they could actually throw. Plenty of Protosses and Zergs, that they could throw at Team Property to give themselves this win. So I'm still wondering what we're going to be seeing in the next map.
One thing that we haven't been seeing, though, is the Zergs going for heavier queen counts.
Yeah,
We
you're
haven't
right.
seen that in any matchup at all today. They've gotten enough queens for the hatcheries and just stopped. They don't they, and I feel like if you would have had like you know the heavier queen count in that scenario, you would have been able to kill the medevacs faster, and the Zerglings would have been able to clean up the Marines and the Hellions a lot easier. So I feel like I guess they're regressing back.
You're campaigning for that heavier queen style is what you're doing,
I
Ajax.
am. I love queens, dude. I gotta have my queens around me, dude. Queens
I
are epic.
I can kind of vouch for Ajax here a little bit. He's not a patch Zerg in how much he likes to go for heavy queen counts. He was doing that even before the queen change came out.
I was.
So you're a little bit of a fanboy when it comes to queens, and that has a lot to do, I think, with how good of music Queen actually produces. I think that might play in a little bit to how much you love your queens. But I think you do have a point. I think the absence of these heavy queen counts, I think, are opening these Zergs up to some early timing attacks that I think they would be a little bit safer from. I think JJH on Daybreak was the best example. A heavier queen count, those Hellions and Banshees don't do as much.
Yeah.
But um I mean, there's all sorts of different things that we as like spectators can suggest to these players when they're playing, but it's a much different mentality when you're actually in the game and having to deal with everything. So I mean, you got to keep that in mind when you're giving players like suggestions or when you're commenting on like how the games are actually going. And I mean, like I said already, I totally feel Scary's frustration having to being forced to play a Terran versus Zerg on Shakura's Plateau of all places. Um, I'm wrapping my head around what I think we're going to be seeing